hold up a finger if you think that maybe, just maybe, you're going to live to the age of 90. A positive group. How about you? Yeah. You don't know, right? So why not put your finger up? Next question. Put up your second finger if maybe, just maybe, you could live to be 100. Yeah, it's possible. That means that together, everyone in this room has the same two problems. How are we going to possibly afford to support ourselves for 25 to 40 years without a job? I'll do the math. That's $3 to $4 million that you all need each at the age of 65. The second problem, what are you going to do for 25, 35, maybe 40 years without a job? It's a challenge of money and a challenge of time. I may have a solution, and I learned about it yesterday. I had an interview, and I'm going to share this with you because oddly enough, I've actually had experience with this. I went on an interview yesterday at Harvard Business School to coach a group of fellows at the Advanced Institutional Leadership Group. I didn't know much about them, but this white paper is from a professor at the Harvard Business School. 34 pages long, and it may change the way higher education is taught. I can send anyone this PDF. Professor Cantor wrote this paper, and she goes through an explanation of how higher education has worked historically in the United States. First, we had the undergraduate degree, 4 years, completely successful. We still have it. Then came the graduate degree, 2 years long. Then came the MBA. Farshid, he's getting his MBA at Babson. Very popular. But now that people are living longer and people are living healthier, they're still productive. What Professor Cantor is suggesting is that higher education starts teaching newly retired people how to reinvent themselves, look at social problems, and solve them. Now, why would older people be good at that? Simple. They're experienced. They're successful. They've been around. They understand what works and what doesn't work. And for the last half of their lives, they can solve a lot of problems. And I'm talking to all of you because you're all going to be 65 at some point. You're all going to be 90 at some point, and God willing, maybe 100. What if I could help you today solve the problem of how am I going to support myself financially? What am I going to do with my time for the next 30, maybe 40 years? What if I solved those two problems and you became a social entrepreneur? You solved some of the world's most crucial problems because you know how to do it, you have plenty of time, you need the money, and what if the last portion of your life was spent giving back to the earth that gave you a life? Last night, I actually saw for the first time the president of Harvard University, Drew Faust, and I watched her give away $310,000 to social entrepreneurship startups. I'm going to share with you a few of these ideas just to give you some ideas of what is possible. When I first moved here from New York City, I moved to Central Square. And I thought that I moved into a neighborhood with a methadone clinic in it. Lots of addicts at the T-stop. That was 15 years ago. They're still there. But the problem has actually gotten worse. There was a startup there. The founder was walking through Central Square just a few years ago, saw someone OD, called 911. 911 responded in about 12 minutes. That sounds pretty fast, right? But when you're ODing on heroin, you get brain damage in the first 5 minutes. The ambulances don't get there fast enough. So what was this guy's idea? He knew that a drug called naloxone will stop a heroin high immediately. It stops the overdose. Thing is, you have to have it. The interesting thing about the delivery of naloxone is it's a nasal spray. It's not an injection and it's not a pill. You just squirt it up someone's nose. So this startup, this kid, he took a box, a toolbox, and he put a lock pad on it, and he stuck it on a street lamp in Cambridge. He called the city of Cambridge and said, I want to have these lock boxes with naloxone in them. My idea is that when you're walking down the street, someone ODs, you call 911, you give your location, they determine it's probably an OD from what you described to 911. They will tell you where the nearest naloxone box is. The 911 operator will give you the code to open up the box, you pull out the naloxone, and you squirt it up someone's nose. That's pretty simple. But see how powerful that is? It's a simple idea that works. What inspired me to go into social entrepreneurship is I had the privilege last year to meet a Nobel Prize winner named Muhammad Yunus. Most of you know him as the banker to the poor or the inventor of microfinancing. What he ended up doing is he made very, very small loans, on average $37. 97% of those loans are paid back. 100% of those loans are paid back if you're a woman. So women are actually a better bet for a loan. That's what Muhammad Yunus is famous for. What he's not famous for is something that he did over 30 years ago. He walked into a village in the daytime, the sun was going down, and he saw children playing. By night, they were blind. All the kids. By the next morning, they could see again. And they were playing. He thought he was seeing things. He didn't say anything to anybody. That night, the kids went blind again. The next morning, they could see again. Muhammad Yunus goes to a doctor in the village and said, am I crazy? Am I really seeing this? And the doctor said, without any surprise or shock, yeah, it's night blindness. Vitamin A deficiency. Now, what is the solution to vitamin A deficiency? Yeah. But this is rural India. They didn't have those. What did Yunus think of? Probably what most American people would think of. Give them vitamins. These kids have never seen pills before. That's the problem with social entrepreneurship. Your solution not only has to work, it has to fit into the culture. These kids have never seen pills before. And even if they did, who's going to administer once a day you take these? You store them out of light. It's also too expensive. That idea, not any good. Well, what about fresh fruits and vegetables? Trevor, great idea. Carrots. Here's the challenge. Food distribution. How are you going to get a carrot into a kid's hand if you don't have roads and you don't have trucks? And you have to give them that carrot every day. And they don't have any money. It's an almost unsolvable problem. But this is what Muhammad Yunus saw. And this is the lens that I encourage you to look through. What do these people have? They had dirt. They had backyards. And he thought, seeds. What if I gave them seeds? For 3 cents a family, Muhammad Yunus gave every family in that village a packet of seeds. He cured night blindness for 3 cents a person. He distributed it. It was cheap. It was light. It had a shelf life of several years. People knew how to farm. It was a solution that worked, that also fit the culture. It also fit the financial situation, which was there's not a lot of money around. These are the kinds of solutions that I encourage you all to start thinking about. When you are 65 years old, you're probably going to be thriving and healthy. But you most likely won't have enough money saved. 95% of Americans won't have enough money for retirement. Quite frankly, I don't know what's going to happen. But they are woefully unprepared for retirement. And even if you can do that, even if you did have the money, There's the issue of what do you do with your time? I thought I was lucky that I retired 15 years ago when I was 36 years old. The first day of retirement, I remember waking up, and I was walking down this lake that I bought in Groton, Massachusetts. I said, nobody needs me. And that really made me sad. And then I said, I'm irrelevant. And I actually was. I did spend the first year traveling around, doing the jet setting thing. And funny thing is, all the early retired people that I met that were like me, I met every single one of them in a bar. I thought I was the only one who developed a drinking problem with early retirement. No. Why? We had nothing to do. We were bored. I started drinking a lot more. I learned how to smoke pot every day. I even learned how to smoke cigarettes again. Those are my 3 friends. Did I enjoy them? No, I was killing time. The depression was so bad, obviously I went to the doctor. Kind of baffled. I don't know why I'm depressed. I have everything. Never occurred to me I don't have a purpose. I went through 27 different psychotropic drugs. Pretty much every antidepressant, every anti-anxiety medicine you could think of. I gained about 40 pounds, lost my sex drive. I wasn't able to drive. I actually had to get a driver because one of the side effects of Effexor was an electric zap through my right eye, and I would black out while I was driving. So it became unsafe to drive. So some people said, oh, look at Michael, he has a chauffeur. And I was like, yeah, well, you know what? I feel like driving Miss Daisy. I'm in the back seat. I'm not able to drive because I'm mentally ill. It didn't feel luxurious at all. Since the pills didn't work, I didn't know where to go. I got desperate. I went back to Harvard Extension to study mind-body medicine, which is something that you kind of have to cobble together with different workshops. You have to go to the medical school and take these 2-day seminars. There's a few classes that the Extension school had. In an emotion class, I learned about orthomolecular medicine, food for medicinal function. And I heard a story about a doctor. He ran a mental institution for schizophrenics. The schizophrenics that were in lockdown because they were so violent. He experimented with them, with food. He put them on gluten-free diets. The violence went away. They came out of lockdown. They were still schizophrenic, but they were no longer violent. He put them back on gluten. Back came the violence, back into lockdown. And I thought, if food can influence violence, could it influence mood and depression? Yes, it can. I changed my diet, cured my depression and anxiety all by myself, and then I went to New York, went to nutrition school, then I moved to Germany, I went to baking school, came back to the United States, and started a food company. The first food bar designed to alleviate anxiety and depression. I was carried in all Whole Foods in the New England area, and I was bought out 2 years ago. It was not the financial coup of my life at all. But I helped a lot of people. And it felt good that I was helping so many people. It was my way of giving back because a lot of people suffer in silence. This was my way of helping. You're going to have your way of helping. You have your own challenges. And you found your own solutions to your challenges as well. When it comes time for you to retire, think about how can you make the world better in your own special way. And you have about 30 years to think about it. Thanks.